Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Illui nishmasi mimirasi rusbas Mordechai. Today's shiur is sponsored for a Mazel Tov Akiva Solkowitz. I'm finishing his first mesechta ever. They sent me a video of that Siyum. During the Siyum, David Zlatnik gave out almost 30 Gemaras to different people at the Siyum. He invited all his friends. He's a Hatzalah guy from Flatbush. It reminded me, in New York, I don't know if they do it any other place, I heard about it in New York. Instead of the cops going after criminals, they have the criminals come to the cops. What do? They send letters to these criminals that have warrants. They say, free flat screen TV, come to the school, pick it up. And they come to the school and give us, what? Yeah, that's what David Zlatnik does. Instead of going out there and getting guys, he brings them all into one room and he chops them, gives them Gemaras. It's unbelievable. Mazel Tov to Sholem Rand, Shmuli Hecht, Doniel Dachs, and Michoel, Hoffman. I'm finishing Succah. Welcome Yitzy Jablon, Silverberg, Mendy Schreiber, Baruch Sirota, Eddie Beylin, Shmuli Davidowitz, the best shiur in the world. May we all be zocheh to finish shas together. Today's shiur is sponsored Chaya Bat Israel by Shlomo Rosenberg for the yahrzeit of his brother Moshe ben Reb Dov, and of course anonymously by Kalman of the Five Towns. Chaya Bat Israel on her 10th yahrzeit. Yishkoyach Kalman. He also made a big siyum. I think it was yesterday, on another mesechta. He's learning Baruch Hashem and being Messiah mesechta, so Mazel Tov. Tremendous Mazel Tov to all the Messiahim. We had a beautiful Siyum yesterday here in Ramat Bet Shemesh, where a brand new song was introduced, the MDY family song written by Nachman Seltzer, sung by Nachman Seltzer here. How many people do we have yesterday? 300. Over 100 people. Here's a picture of Toronto. Over 50 people in Toronto. No, this is London. London, sorry. Here you go with the MDY logo, the 8-minute Daf logo. London, sorry. 50 people in London. We have here, this is Toronto. It says Mefurish, Toronto. You could see. Toronto Chevra. So Baruch Hashem, the Siyumim are growing. Here's Manchester, our very, very first Chabura. Here you go. Some of them look very happy to be there in the picture. What? It's Manchester. What do you expect?
Someone said a joke.
Somebody said a joke. So they got real serious. Okay. They would throw me out of this Siyum personally, I think, because most of these guys are wearing a black hat. I wore a black hat for some of it yesterday, but during the food, the whole thing. Serious guys, Baruch Hashem. I want to thank personally the main sponsor of the Gemaras. Over 550 Gemaras were given out. That means that there's probably 700 to 800 people that are joining right now this morning for the very first time, because not everybody that joins gets a Gemara or wants a Gemara. Some people already have a shas. So Merit Nakash was the main sponsor. We also had Yechiel Pfeiffer, who gave $2,500 towards it. 2 other people anonymously, without saying their names, not like Kalman from the Five Towns Anonymous. 2 people that gave $2,500 and 1 person that gave $5,000. So Yishkoyach to all the, and 1,800. Thank you. Nachman's person gave 1,800. So Yishkoyach to all these people. It's a tremendous thing to bring Torah like that, to get other people to learn. You yourself could still bring people to the Daf. Just tell them, join MDY.com. It's not too late. Rabbi Isai, it's amazing. We're going into the winter Zman. It's a long Zman from here till Pesach. We have 6 months, and guess what? Every single month for the next 6 months, we are going to be making a Siyum Be'ezra Hashem. Every single month. So it's exciting stuff. If you miss one, you don't like a certain mesechta, you start another one. There's stuff going on every single month. Rosh Hashanah, Today we're starting Beitzah, Rosh Hashanah, Tainis, Megillah, Moed Katan, Chagiga. So, as we do every single beginning of mesechta, we gotta mix it up a little bit. So I'll try to, for the people in the room, not to be that boring. I want to talk about why it's important to do the daf and what are the distractors. And I'm going to ask you, Yaakov, we're going to start with Yaakov. What are the reasons that the Yitzy Jablon says you shouldn't do a daf? He has no clue. So let me help you out over here. Today, there are no emails. It's the day off for Yaakov. No emails. It's the one day that instead of emails, we're going to do this. The Yitzy Jablon says, and the trick here is, Yaakov, you have to tell me which ones were not on the list last time. Okay? It's all mixed up here. The Yitzy Jablon says, I don't retain anything. Do a daf and another daf. That's the Yitzy Jablon. And I'll tell you how I know it's the Yitzy Jablon. It's too fast. Now, many of us went to yeshivas. And we were trained well. And we learned 4 or 5 daf a whole zman. And they taught us lumdus. And lumdus is great and it's important. And it might be the right way to learn. But the Yitzy Jablon says you can't. You're not in yeshiva now. And you're in the workforce. What kind of business is this? Not to learn slow? You can't learn fast. It's not the right way. Lumdus is the right way. And then finally we have one of the biggest pitfalls of the Yitzy Jablon. His job is to get you off this Daf Yomi wagon. Because today you have the inspiration and you want to start, and his biggest trick is to say you have to catch up. Meaning, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah soon. And you might find yourself a daf or two behind. And every single time he comes up with that trick and he says, don't do what everybody else is doing. Try to catch up. And that is the biggest trick of the Yitzy Jablon, and that's where you fall. And I said just 3 days ago, I met a guy, Abe Newman, is part of the shiur from Brachas. And he told me and Gary that he's been doing the daf for 6 years in the 90s with the Torah tapes. And the Yitzy Jablon tried to get him every single day, couldn't get him. And finally he got him. When he went on a vacation after 6 years. And he forgot his Torah tapes at home. So when he came back home, he tried to catch up. And when he tried to catch up, he failed to finish shas after 6 years. He got him after 6 years. So if you're smart enough, you know that that's just the eights of the Yitzy Jablon. It's about perfectionism, and perfectionism is not a good thing when it comes to Daf Yomi. It ruins the daf. So just do the daf that you're doing, that Klal Yisrael is doing today. In fact, yesterday, one of my biggest adversaries to this idea is Issy, a guy from Yerushalayim, and he keeps on telling me, I'm going to catch up, and it's the last 5 months he's trying to catch up, and he hasn't caught up. And every time I see him, no, but I'm catching up, I'm telling you I do the daf. And I chapped last night when I was talking to him, another Yisai. Why is it so important to do the daf with everybody? Because it gives you that extra push. He said it's very difficult for him to do the daf on Friday. But when you're trying to catch up, you don't have that push. Listen, it's Friday today. It's very, very difficult for me to do the daf, so I'll just catch up another daf. But when you're doing it with Klal Yisrael, you can't have that excuse. That gives you that extra push. When you can't do it, it's hard for you to do it. And that's why it's kedai to do it with everybody else. So what are the milos of Daf Yomi? A lot of us have a hang-up. I'm telling you, we learned in yeshivas, and we look down at Daf Yomi, myself included. Daf Yomi is for Amaratzim, for Balabatim. It's terrible. But at the end of the day, Daf Yomi includes all of the Torah, Kabbalah, Medrash, Agada, Halacha, everything. The Seidas HaTorah, they're all in shas. This is a Taisis, this is Rishonim talking. Whereas if you learn Shulchan Aruch, it just includes halacha. It doesn't include the Seidas and the Agada and all that stuff. Shas includes everything. And if you come out of Daf Yomi every day with one new concept, one new halacha, then you're ready gain. You're ready gain. Mazel Tov Yohi Steinhardt, 11 years old, his first mesechta. Unbelievable. We see pictures all the time, people sending pictures of people on their flights, learning Torah. Things that they've never thought about in their lives. Standing in line in Disney World, learning Torah. Maybe 4 or 5 pictures in the last 2-3 months of people learning while their wives are delivering a baby in the hospital. They bring the Gemara with them. In crazy situations, they are learning Torah. And there's nothing like starting the day with a daf. A day with a daf, starting out your day with Torah, it changes your life. It pasha changes your life. And this is a new one, Yaakov. I'm talking about it, but I put on the thing here because I finally found it. Chavetz Chaim brings it down. That only Torah that you learn in this world do you get to learn in Olam HaEmes. So imagine you go to yeshiva your whole life. It's going to be pretty boring over there. You only learn the first 5 daf of every mesechta. That's it. And you go back again. Daf Beis, Daf Gimel, Daf Dal, Daf Beis, Daf Gimel. If you learn all of shas, and even if you don't understand it 100%, but at least you touched it, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Rebbe Akiva and the Gra and the Baal Shem Tov, whoever it is, they're going to be learning with you those parts of the Torah that you touched. So it's kedai to learn it all. And don't push it off to tomorrow. And here are some of our catchphrases, and I'll explain them. This is the most important one, and my favorite one. It's not about the daf, it's about the yomi. We don't just learn Daf Yomi to learn and to accomplish. We learn Daf Yomi because this is the greatest way to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The greatest way to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom is through Torah. So how could a day go by that you don't learn Torah? And how many of us, including the Talmud Chacham from Farakwe that I had a big argument with him, and I watched him not learn a word during Ben Azmanim for a few days straight. Not one word. He didn't open up a sefer once. Big lamdin, but not once. How could you go a day without connecting to the Rebbeinu Shalom on the highest level? And through Daf Yomi, you connect every single day, whether it's Tisha B'Av or Yom Kippur. What's the other one, Jonathan? Ben Azmanim and the night of your son's wedding, thank you, and the day of your son's bris. Every single day, you're learning Torah. Thanks, Jonathan. Oh, that was a tough one. Yeah. By the way, I thought about it. That was the one day in the last 3 years that I was late to shiur, 10 minutes late. My grandson was born, and I made a big mistake. My daughter, I didn't tell anybody that. I'll tell you now. My daughter, when I left the hospital, was unconscious. But I had an achrayus, and I had to give the daf. It was not such a nice thing. I held the baby for a second. I'm talking about when my grandson was born, my first grandson, my only grandson. Held the baby for a second. She was unconscious. I said, the doctors will do the job. I got to go teach Torah. Took a taxi. I was 10 minutes late. But every day, you got to, I'm not saying you should be Meshuggah. I'm not. We got to learn the daf every day. Shas is like a Ferris wheel. A lot of people today is 8 mesechtas into Shas. So you could get depressed. Well, I missed the bandwagon. Everybody's going to be in MetLife Stadium, and what am I going to do? I can't say I finished Shas. No. Shas begins by mesechtas Beitzah for you. You're on a Ferris wheel. You just get off at the end of Succah, and that's where your siyum is. It's a lot more. I was at your siyum. It was different than everybody else's siyum. It's intimate. It's your own siyum. You're not doing it with Klal Yisrael. You're doing it by yourself, with your mishpacha. You'll invite your 50 friends, and everything will be great. Every day is a Ferris wheel. You can get on Daf Gimel, Daf Daled, and it's still the same shas. Dafing, steiging, growing every day. I don't have to explain that one. And we say all the time, it's geschmack to do the daf. We have a niggin. It's geschmack to do the daf. Okay, we're not going to sing it now. And this is a keep up now, catch up later. That's the same yesod, but it's a great phrase. Keep up now, catch up later. Don't try to make up the daf. All right. Rabbi Sai. What? Oh, Jonathan, get over here, Jonathan. For him, I took it out. The daf makes you a better husband, a better person, a better businessman, a better human being, a better Oved Hashem. All in all, everybody will see the difference in you. Thank you, Jonathan. I want to make it a little shorter. You can find us on all these mediums. Rabbi Sai, all daf, is huge. I just found out last night how many people actually watch an all daf. A lot of people watch an all daf. A lot of people watch on YouTube. A lot of people watch on YouTube anytime. Whatever your medium is. So I want to address a little bit the elephant in the room. Is it mesechtas Beitzah or is it mesechtas Beya? I went to Hasidic Chadarim. You can get thrown out of the school if you say Beitzah. But here in Eretz Yisrael, everybody says Beitzah. Where does this come from? The Magen Avraham brings the Yam Shel Shloime who says you should say Beya because it's a Lashon Naki. So the Shishanim LeDavid says, I don't understand. What? It's cleaner to say it in Aramaic. And he goes on to ask all these questions. He's seeing the Gemara uses all the time the Lashon Beitzah Sa'igrim, Beitzah this, Kibeitzah. So what's the pshat? In fact, in Sanhedrin, the Gemara says that they made a mistake between the Mei Beitzim to Mei Bitzaim. Now, if you call it Mei Beim, how could you confuse it with Mei Bitzaim? Bitzaim is one word, Beim is another word. And the Shishanim LeDavid asked the Vilna Gaon's son, how did your father say it? So my father said Beitzah. And that's probably why in Eretz Yisrael everybody says Beitzah. But a Koiler Yungaman, in our Koilel, Aaron Kaplan told me, says, take a look at Rabbeinu Chananel. Everybody look at it right now. It says on the side over here, this is his raya. Aschil mesechtas Beitzah be'ezras gadol ha'etzah. It's a rhyme. It only rhymes if you say Beitzah. It cannot rhyme. Aschil mesechtas beya be'ezras gadol ha'etzah. Doesn't rhyme. So Rabbi say, let's start. Atchil mesechtas Beitzah be'ezras gadol ha'etzah with this help and the siyata shmai of the Rebbeinu Sholem. Beitzah shenolda b'Yom Tov. You have an egg that was laid on Yom Tov. B'Shamai yoyrim tiyachal. Machlokes b'Shamai b'Sil. B'Shamai are Michoel, very rare that the Michoel like this. The Michoel, they say you could eat the egg that was laid on Yom Tov. U'b'Sil yoyrim loy tiyachal. You can't eat it today. Today you can't eat it. So I got to tell you a story because we just started off the mesechta and we're not late at all. Rabbi Kovsky is brought down in Simcha B'Chinuch. I think that's the name. Rabbi Yitzchak Zibelstein's Sefer on Chinuch. No relation to the Daf or anything. Very, very cool story. It says that Rabbi Kovsky, he happened to be in Tel Aviv and was looking for a minyan. So he walks into some shul, Tel Aviv Yidden over there. And he hears the Gabbai saying, today there's no speech between Mincha and Ma'ariv. The Rav is not here. So Rabbi Kovsky was a big Talmud Chacham. He gets up, he says, I could say it. What are we learning? So, to his luck, it was Tahiris, one of the hardest prakim in Mishnayos. It's like they give it to him, here, go. So Baruch Hashem, he knew it, and he starts reading the Mishnah, and there's one guy in there that starts bombing it with kashas, back and forth, back and forth. So after the shiur, he's very curious, who's this guy in Tel Aviv that knows how to learn like this? So he tells him, I grew up in Golders Green, in London, the London guys, the 50 guys that they had last night at the Siyum. And I wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael and learn in yeshiva. I didn't want to go to the high school in Golders Green. So my friends told me, prepare the first 5 daf of Mesechtas Beitzah and go to the yeshiva over there. Where? Go to Kfar Hasidim by Rebbe Eliyahu Lepian. Okay? So he prepares, he knows it inside out, backside forwards. And he goes to Kfar Hasidim, he knocks on the door, and Rebbe Eliyahu Lepian gives him a fare. And Rebbe Eliyahu Lepian looks at him and he says, okay, let me ask you a kasha. And he says that he just got so fear-struck. It's Rebbe Eliyahu Lepian, the famous Rebbe Eliyahu Lepian. He wrote, well, Rebbe Shalom Shavadron wrote, Lev Eliyahu, yeah? The famous picture of Rebbe Eliyahu. And he did this twice a day, they say. Twice a day, and he said he has a curse type to the cats. I have no idea what that means. But twice, this is not stam, a one-time thing.
Rabbi Silver on Nachshon took that picture.
Rav Silver on Nachshon took that picture. Tell him to come to the daf.
He doesn't need it.
Yeah, he doesn't need it. Okay. I don't know who he is. I'm sorry. Everybody needs it. What do you mean he doesn't need Shmuel? And where were you last night? Don't think I didn't notice you weren't there last night. So, Rabbi Yovan asked him a question, and through the fear, we all know what it is, he just blinked out. So Rabbi Eli says, let me ask you a very simple question. We'll make it easy for you. Came from all the way from England. What do you do with an egg that was laid on Shabbos, on Yontif? Blank, nothing. He's thinking to himself, oh, it's Rabbi Eli. And finally, he mutters out the words. He goes, you make a scrambled egg. And that was it. So you think that Rabbi Eli would tell him, okay, go home, go back to England. What are you doing here? Make a scrambled egg on Yontif, on Shabbos. So Rabbi Eli told him, I see that you have seichel hayosher, your mamasha, givaldik abal kishrin. You're going to do really well in this yeshiva. You got a little mixed up here, but you used your own seichel. Come to the yeshiva. And he said that because of those words of encouragement, he continued learning, and by the time he got out of Kfar Hasidim, he knew Nashim Nezikim by heart with Rashi and Taisvis, and he learned Mishnayos. But Kitzur, he was a big Talmud Chacham, and he had 13 children. That he says, go to that one line of Rabbi Eli Pian that gave him chizuk, 13 children that are bnei Torah and beautiful things. All right. So, but the halacha is that you don't make a scrambled egg with it. What do you do? Beis say, don't eat it today. Bishamai say, you could eat it. Now, once we're already telling you about a machlokes between Bishamai and Beis where Bishamai, uncharacteristically, are Michoel in Yontif. So the Mishnah is going to tell us another two cases about a very similar thing. Beishamai yoimrim sa'ar b'kezayis v'chometz b'kekoseves. I brought you the sa'ar. Sa'ar is the starter. Here it is. Today, people are very into the sourdough. This is sa'ar. This is a starter. This is dangerous stuff when it comes to chametz. This creates other chametz. This makes chametz. So therefore, the shiur of this is different than regular chametz, than a piece of bread. This is different. What's the shiur? So, sa'ar b'kezayis v'chametz b'kekoseves. Here you have it. Since sa'ar, the starter, the agent of starting the whole process of leavening, is smaller, it's b'kezayis, and the other one is b'kekoseves, a date. Ubeis Hillel zev b'kezayis. They're more machmer. You're over on Bal Yirah here. You have in the pasuk Sa'ar. What's Sa'ar? This guy. This is Sa'ar. A whole pasuk about it. Sa'ar le'yumatzu b'teichem. It's the halacha of le'yirah and le'yumatzu. Le'yirah lecha chametz. Okay. But Beis Hillel are more machmer, and they say you're over even on the lesser shir. If you have less of it, you're already over. That means they're more machmer. No connection to our mesechta really, but Hashoichet Chaya Bat Israel. This is halacha. Oh, I forgot to print the pictures out of the pressure of the thing. We have a in-house shoichet, Rabbi Avram Weisfish from Manchester, sent me beautiful pictures. Okay, we'll try to use them tomorrow. If the halacha is that if you shecht a chaya, not a behema, not a cow, goat, sheep, a chaya, like a deer, v'oif, and a bird, you're mechuyev to MDY Tehillim. There's a chiyuv to go and sprinkle and cover the blood. Sheyotzetzeit chaya oyoif asheyoch v'shavach es damay v'chiso kisui dam. You cover it ba'afar. A lot of people do kaparas now, so you could be yoyt to the mitzvah of kisui adam also. That's the deraisa. We're going to have to go into it in the Gemara. We're talking about digging and different isurim that you could do by digging on Yontif. So if there's a shovel in the ground, as we'll see in the Gemara, you're allowed to cover it. You're not allowed to shecht unless you already have it prepared, and you don't have to be over anything. However, if you're over and you did do shchita, then you go ahead and do whatever the Gemara is going to explain to us, digging with a shovel in order to cover the blood. This also we have to see the Gemara, that it's another line in the Mishnah that also, it's not a continuation, but it's a line by itself, that the afer, the ashes underneath the pot, are considered available. We'll have to see what the Gemara says. Says the Gemara, what are we talking about? If we are talking about a chicken, there's two types of chicken. Chickens that are grown to eat or to lay eggs. So what is the reason of Beis Hillel? Why do Beis Hillel say that this egg is muktzah? Uchla de iprasu. It's food that's separated. So it's separated from another food. If you have an apple and you cut it in half, you can't say one half is mutter, one half is asr. The chicken is there for food, so you're allowed to eat the chicken, so why can't you eat the egg that's inside the chicken? Hello. So, when it comes, now we're going to talk a lot about muktzah. We're going to be professionals in muktzah in this mesechta. Muktzah, the idea of muktzah means a makzadas. I set it aside. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to be using this item for whatever reason. Either it's not worth anything, or it's not available, or it's worth too much. Different things that we're going to see. But he never was makzah's das. He never said, I'm not going to be using this egg. It's all part of the chicken. He doesn't think about the heart and the liver and the egg. It's just one of the chicken. It's one part of the chicken. So we're talking about a chicken that's there just to lay eggs. If that's the case, so why do Beis Shammai say that it's not muktzah? It's muktzah. It wasn't here before Shabbos. So it should be muktzah now. Muktzah, the whole chicken is muktzah. Why? Because I don't want this chicken to eat. I don't need it to eat. So the chicken is muktzah. So everything is muktzah. Says the Gemara, my kushya. Your whole kasha is based on the fact that you understand that Beis Shammai say it's muktzah. Dilma Beis Shammai leslu muktzah. Now, when we were learning mesechta Shabbos, we had a famous machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Is there muktzah or not muktzah? Now, we have to understand, even Rabbi Shimon, who doesn't hold of muktzah, but it's not accurate. Of course, he holds of the concept of muktzah, just not in every single situation. So, perhaps Beis Shammai hold like Reb Shimon that there's no muktzah, there's no isser muktzah here. And the Gemara's Havamina was afilu man deshar b'muktzah. Even the person, whoever it is, holds that there is no muktzah. B'noilad aser. Noilad. What's noilad? It was created today. Now, if you hold like Reb Shimon, there's no muktzah. Why is there no muktzah? Because if you have an item, he's thinking to himself, he's mitzap b'kol hayoyim. He's like, when could I get to use this? You have a candle that's lit. He's thinking to himself, Shalom Aleichem, when am I going to use the oil? When it's done, when am I going to use the leftovers? So he's never makzidas. He never removes it from his mind. That's good by an item that's here in front of us. But an egg wasn't created yet. It wasn't here for you to even think about that thought. So now it's a brand new item that didn't exist when Shabbos came in. So it's muktzah. L'chayr, even Reb Shimon will hold of the problem of noilad. Now, so there's another idea that we have to talk about, and that's migudis katzai bebein hashmashas. Something that you, for one moment, as Shabbos comes in, you said to yourself, I'm not going to use it this Shabbos. So that machshava, that lasts for the entire Shabbos. So over here, you don't have that migudis katzai, or not migudis, because it never existed. So l'chayr, it should be a problem. It should be muktzah. Says the Gemara, my tamay to be Shammai. Omar Rav Nachman. We're talking about a chicken that's there for eggs. If you hold of muktzah, you hold that there's a problem in noilad. So, before you ask me that according to Beis Shammai, how could you eat this egg? How could you be Michoel? Even if you don't hold of muktzah, you don't hold of muktzah, but there's a problem in noilad. It's worse than muktzah. So even Beis Shammai should agree that this egg is also. The answer is no. If I don't hold of muktzah, I don't hold of noilad. I don't hold of muktzah. So then I don't hold of noilad. Finished. There's no problem with muktzah here. So, the whole mesechta, really, if you want to sum up the mesechta, this is a mesechta of Isser D'Rabbanan on Yantif. That's basically over and over. I have a whole list of 28 Gzeris over here, 10 over here, and 12 over there. It's a whole mesechta of Gzeris D'Rabbanan. And we're running out of time here, but real quickly, because a lot of people say, D'Rabbanan, Gzeris. So the Rabbeinu Yoina, Rishon, he says, Ki toivim deidecha miyayin, chavivim divrei soifrim yoiser miyayna shel Torah. I really should hurry up here because we're running late. The Gzeris of Chachamim are sweeter than the wine of Torah. And he keeps on going, we have to explain it. But basically, if you have a field and you have very valuable, you have truffles that are worth hundreds of dollars a pound, you're gonna protect your field. You're gonna put a fence around it, and that's what Gzeris D'Rabbanan are. And by you protecting the mitzvahs and staying away from the mitzvahs and staying away from the averos, and he brings, the Torah says, the Torah says this problem by arise, stay away, make a gedder, don't go close. So Melech Chachamim do that same thing to show the chavivas of the mitzvah, how much we love HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah, and we stay away from these things by creating fences. All it is a fence. He says, but I am not going to do it. I'm not going to be over. Would you talk like that about your precious belongings in your front yard? Would you not put your fence there? Nobody's going to take it. No. So the same thing with the Rabbanans, and that's what our mesechta is about. Says the Gemara, Ud Islay Muktzah, Islay Noilat, Ud Lasay Muktzah, Lasay Noilat. Beis Shammai, Reb Shimon. Beis Shammai hold like Reb Shimon that there's no Muktzah, there's no Noilat. Ud Beis Hillel, Reb Yehuda, Beis Hillel hold like Reb Yehuda. Ask the Gemara, Umiyomar, Rav Nachman, did Rav Nachman say that Beis Hillel holds like Reb Yehuda? That Beis Hillel hold that there is Muktzah? Vasnan. Beis Shammai Yomer Megbim Al Shulchan Atzam Misuk Liben. You have on your Shabbos table, you have Muktzah. You have the leftovers. You finished eating your nuts and you have bones from the fish. And Rashi says we're talking about bones that are not edible even for an animal, like fish bones. Okay? Other Rishonim Michoel. Uklipin. And the shells of different nuts. So what do? According to Beis Shammai, you just gather it up with your hand. You can touch it, even though it's muktzah. Not a problem. Get rid of it. Don't touch it. It's muktzah. You can't touch it with your hand. But you could take the whole, in those days they had these small tables, these little TV tables that everybody ate their own meal on. You pick it up, you flip it over, because that is a kli and that you're allowed to do. This Rav Nachman that told us our pshat, or Beis Hillel goes according to Rabbi Yehuda that there is muktzah. He says no. We have to explain this. Elo Beis Shammai like Rabbi Yehuda. Beis Shammai is like Rabbi Yehuda, not Beis Hillel. What's going on here? Beis Hillel Rabbi Shimon. You telling me that according to Rav Nachman, Beis Hillel is like Rabbi Yehuda? No, Beis Shammai is like Rabbi Yehuda. Beis Hillel is like Rabbi Shimon. Beis Hillel hold that there's no muktzah. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman could explain it. Gabi Shabbos, the Sasam Lontana Rabbi Shimon, we have a problem in the Shais, and the Gemara is going to explain. We have an anonymous Mishnah, and we paskin like an anonymous Mishnah, and we'll see a beautiful Rashi on Amud Beis. There's an anonymous Mishnah that says, if you have detached gourds on the ground, you're allowed to cut them up. What would be the concern? That's a tirchi yiseri. You're not allowed to overwork yourself, exert yourself on Shabbos. You're allowed to. This is the one we're looking for. You have an animal that died today on Shabbos. Died on Shabbos. So you for sure didn't think you're going to be using this meat for your dog. You had a gewaldic animal. It's worth a lot of money. So for sure, you were makzi your das. Nevertheless, you're allowed to cut it up. It's not muktzah. So, because it's an anonymous Mishnah in Shabbos, so he says Beis Hillel, and we always pass like Beis Hillel, like Reb Shimon, that Reb Shimon holds, it's not muktzah. Therefore, you're allowed to cut up this animal. Right? The halach is like Beis Hillel, and the halach is like the Stam Mishnah, so everything jives together. It's great. Aval, Gabi Yontav, this Sasam Lontano Ki Rabbi Yehuda. The new guys, you just know, Amud Beis always, in the entire shas, Amud Beis is always shorter and much easier, and therefore usually only takes 10 minutes. Gabi Yontif, the Sasan Lantana Kirib Yehuda, the second cycle, next cycle, Beis Hashem, Amud Beis is going to be much harder, and Amud Aleph is going to be shorter. That's whatever. It's a plan. No. Gabi Yontif, the Sasan Lantana Kirib Yehuda, but by Yontif, the Tana says differently. But how could Rebbe make one Mishnah like Rebbe, one Mishnah like Reb Shimon? The Gemara is going to explain. But in Yontif, there's an anonymous Mishnah that says exactly Rebbe. This is not. You cannot take wood that's on a pile in a construction site that's ready to go to build a house in America and in England. That's how they build, not here in Israel. But you have a pile of wood. You cannot use that wood for firewood. What is that called, Rabbi Isai? Anybody know? Muktzah machmas? Yaakov. On a roll today. I found the Gewaldige picture for this. In January 2020, this pile of wood cost $1,000. And in June of 2021, this pile of wood cost $1,000. So who in their right mind would take some of this wood and use it as firewood? Yeah, it's just a 2x4. Yeah, but there's $100 a 2x4. So that's called chesar and kiss. I set it aside for a very specific thing. For instance, if you have a knife for bris milah, certain things, I don't want people to damage it. That's muktzah on Shabbos. A silver, something important, a nice painting. Muktzah machmas chesar, even a pile of 2x4, says the Gemara, is muktzah machmas chesar and kiss. By the way, we just turned to Daf Yomi Amud Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim group. For all those who need Yeshuos and Shidduchim Refuas, please join Tehillim.com and by Shlomo Lalezarian from Los Angeles, sponsoring in honor of my wife, who's Moiser Nefesh, so that I could say a shiur. Thank you, Shlomo. So, here, and this is the one we're looking for. A beam that fell off the ceiling. You understand that they did construction in those days. A beam falls off the ceiling in the middle of Yontif, so that's mamish migidus katzoi. It was there, set aside. Never in his wildest dreams did he think he's going to throw it into a pit of a fire. It's part of his house. So that's migidus katzoi. During Ben Hashmoshes, he had no intent to use it. And it says, you're not allowed to do so on Yontif. What does that mean? There is muktzah. All of a sudden, this Mishnah that's anonymous says there is muktzah. And all of a sudden now, Beis goes like Rabbi Yehuda, that there is muktzah. Ask the Gemara Michti. Man tzatmi l'masnisin Rebbe. Who wrote the Mishnahs? Who wrote the Shishis in the Mishnah? Rebbe. And he made an anonymous Mishnah. Now we have to see this Rashi inside. Look at this Rashi. Rashi the Maskil, man tzatmi l'masnisin Rebbe. Who see there at Mishnah? He authored the Mishnahs. When he saw a beautiful piece from a Chacham, he wrote it anonymously we know that you're supposed to say Davar b'shem Amroi, not Rebbe. Why? He didn't want people to think, it's just Shitas Rebbe Meir. Who's the most famous anonymous Mishnah? Rebbe Meir. It's usually Rebbe Meir. But if you would say Rebbe Meir, you would think to yourself, it's only a Yachid, it's only Rebbe Meir. I'm telling you, this is the halach, I'm not even going to mention his name. And that's why an anonymous Mishnah always goes, that's the halacha. Fine. And you're going to find many people that say different than Rebbe Meir, you're going to go with them. No. I paskin like this, says Rebbe. Now, Maishna b'Shabbos, this is on Rebbe Shimon, or Maishna b'Yontif, everybody's thinking this question. How is it possible that Rebbe, who wrote the Mishnayos, did in Hilchas Shabbos like that there's no muktzah, and Hilchas Yontif there is muktzah? What's going on here? Amri, Shabbos the Chamiri, because Shabbos is so chamer, and nobody's going to come to just make away with Shabbos. Sasan like Rebbe Shimon the Michoel, he went with the Michoel, and he says there's no muktzah on Shabbos. Yontif the kill, but Yontif is more kal. Less chomer. Why is Yontif less chomer and kal? Because you're allowed to cook on Yontif. In people's mind, it's just Yontif. Look, you're allowed to make food. And Memela, they'll come to be mezalzel Yontif. So they went out of their way and they made more gedarim when it came to this. That's why in our Mishnah, Reb Nachman said that we're talking about a chicken that's there to make eggs. That according to Beis Hillel, it's muktzah. Like Rebbe Yehuda. Okay. Zog the Gemara. So what did you tell me? You tell me that we're talking about a chicken that's there to lay eggs, and we're talking about a problem muktzah. Ask the Gemara a bottom question. Why are you talking about an egg? Talk about the chicken itself. The chicken is muktzah. Why are you going one step removed? So maybe the answer is, I'm telling you, even an egg, which we explained, noilad is a lot worse than muktzah because it didn't even exist. Beishamai say you're allowed to eat the egg. You're allowed to make a scrambled egg. So, fakert, maybe you should tell us how makbid and machmir Beisil are, that even the chicken itself, they still say is muktzah and sasur. Forget about noilad. It's not noilad. It's just regular muktzah, and they still say it's sasur. Perhaps you'll tell me, you know what? It's better to tell me the Michoel. Now, why is koyach de teira adif? So you have to see Rashi, beautiful Rashi. The teira adif lay. He's confident in his way of being Michoel and bringing out halacha. Because the guy is machmer is not a big deal. Anybody could be machmer and tell you, oh, this is asur. The trick is to be Michoel. So that's why it's a lot better to show the koyach of heder. If so, I have a way for you to say both chidushim. Now, Tosfos makes a beautiful nekuda here. The Gemara never says this. Say both, because the Mishnah is always mekatzer, very bekitzer. Why all of a sudden over here I should say two halachas? Says Tosfos because it's only one word. He ubeitzasa. You don't have to go through a whole halacha. You just have to stick in the word beitzah or he. One extra word, and you get two beautiful chidushim. Tremendous chidush. Even the egg, which is noilad, you could eat. Even the mother who's alive and it's just muktzah, you can't eat it. And this, by the way, is called the sugya of achana de rabba. We're talking about a different chicken. We're talking about a chicken that's there to eat. Oh, so it's there to eat. We're not talking about muktzah now. We're talking about a specific case. Yantiv that falls out on a Sunday. And the problem is the preparation. Because any egg that was laid on Sunday was created the day before on Shabbos. And Rabba holds, by the man it says that you have to prepare the man Erev Shabbos. Now, there's a beautiful Rashi here. I know we're running out of time, but it's kedai to see this Rashi. Rashi says, you should say, fine, but he says, and from here you see the halacha is brought down in halacha that when you're shopping, and Rabbi said we should do it today, tomorrow, when shopping. When you're shopping, there's an Indian to say, I'm buying this l'kavod Shabbos Kodesh, and it makes it that much better. It puts the kedusha into it, and it makes the mitzvah that much better. It's kedai. It's kedai to remember. You don't lose anything. You're already buying it. You're already paying for the wine. Say l'kavod Shabbos Kodesh. But Rashi says, because of Rabbi called Beitzah Misalo Yidnu Met Mogomerla. You could prepare for Shabbos, you could prepare for Yantiv on a weekday. But you cannot prepare from Yantiv to Shabbos, you cannot prepare from Shabbos to Yantiv. So it's a Doiraisa. So why are you telling me? You're telling me it's one case. You're telling me Yantiv that falls out on a Sunday, you can't eat an egg. So what about a regular Yantiv that falls out on a Tuesday? So you could eat the egg because it was prepared on a Monday. So if it's prepared on a Monday, you're allowed to eat it. That's not what it says in the Mishnah. It says Beitzah Shenol Yantiv. Can't. Says again, we're talking about a mesechta full of gzeiros, the Rabbanon. It's a gzeira. Because you're going to forget. You think that you could eat an egg this year on Yantiv, and you're going to forget next year, and Yantiv falls out next year on a Sunday, you can't eat it. Fine. Should we just stop here? I know we're very late, and it's slichas today. I want to point out one beautiful Tosfos here. how do you make an Erev Tavshilin on Yontif? If it's a Issa D'Oraisa to prepare from Yontif to Shabbos, that's what the Gemara says. You're not allowed to prepare from Yontif. It's Issa D'Oraisa. So how does the Erev Tavshilin, which is just a D'Rabbanan idea, take us away from this Issa D'Oraisa? Says Taisus, because he holds the famous idea of Hoyel. You're allowed to cook extra on Yontif because you might have an extra guest. So Mela, that takes away that Issa D'Oraisa. It's just the Rabbanan to be over on the Hoyel. And the Rabbanan of Erev Tavshilin undoes the Rabbanan of don't cook extra without the oil. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.